Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Izuku Yagi was the last shinobi part 2. If you guys enjoy this what if and want to see part 3, comment down below and let me know before I start. Please do support for more awesome content and leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also share this video with your friends and check out the description in my playlist. The author of the story 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗵𝗃 from Wattpad. So let's start the video. Third-person POV. Izumi took an entire day to heal, wake up and go to her class, but to her confusion, her brother wasn't in the classroom. "Where is Izuku?" asked the girl. "He's still in the hospital, go to your seat now," said Aizawa. Izumi did as her sensei told her and sat down next to Bakugo, who was visibly boiling with anger. "What's wrong, Kachan?" she asked. "That's you. He's becoming more and more strong. I am the future #1 hero, how dare he become strong?" screamed Bakugo. "Calm down, Bakugo, and stop shouting in the classroom. You are disturbing all of us," said Ida. Bakugo just huffed and went back to glaring at Izuku's empty seat. "It's okay, Kachan. He's still the same pathetic Deku that he's always been. We both will always be better and stronger than he is," said Izumi. Bakugo nodded and smirked after hearing that as his ego was getting fed. Aizawa heard the entire conversation and rolled his eyes as he sighed. He decided that once Izuku wakes up he'd finally confront him. Izuku didn't show any sign of waking up for 2 days straight as his body was restoring his huge pool of personal chakra. It took him a day and a half to finally be able to enter his mindscape, and he wished that he didn't, as his family were on the verge of murdering him for not listening to them. It took another 2 days and a half until Izuku woke up, and he immediately saw Recovery Girl beside his bed. "Hello, sweetie. Are you okay?" asked the old lady. "Hello, Recovery Girl. Yeah, I'm okay. My body restored its stamina. I should be able to go to class now," said Izuku while he was standing up to leave. Recovery Girl smacked his knee with her cane, making him wince a little in pain as his body didn't use any chakra to heal while he was passed out. "No. Sit down and rest. It's not like there is any class now. It's 8 p.m., ordered Recovery Girl. 8 p.m. How long have I been passed out?" wondered the teen. "You were passed out for 4 days and a few hours," asked Recovery Girl. Izuku nodded and sat down, not feeling like walking or running back home. Recovery Girl smiled, then went away. She dialed a number and Izuku heard a "yeah," but that's all. A few minutes later, the door was opened and he saw Aizawa outside the door with wide eyes. The teacher ran into the room and headed towards his student. "Izuku, are you okay?" asked the hero. Izuku looked at him with a glare and huffed. "Why do you care?" "But yeah, I'm okay," said Izuku. "But now why in the world wouldn't I care?" "Izuku, did you really forget that you are my baby nephew? Did you neglect all of our memories together as a family?" asked the older man with a hint of sadness. "Me? Forget our memories? Yeah, it's definitely not you and my other uncles and aunt that decided to do the same thing my pathetic pieces of SHTS for parents did," spat out Izuku. "Why are you being so rude? This isn't like you." "But Izuku, please explain what you mean. You've been acting annoyed with all of us and I don't understand why. You neglected me just like my parents did. The last time I heard anything from any of you before coming to this school was when I was 5. Lashed out Izuku. "Excuse me. We didn't neglect you. I've been sending you letters about once a month, sometimes even twice or 3 times. I also have been sending you gifts all around the year, even since your parents asked us to stop visiting for you and your sister's safety," declared Aizawa. What did you just say?" "The last thing I got from any of you was when you sent me the capture weapon. Everything else was sent for Izumi, including all the letters. But I'll tell you why, because just like my parents you thought I was useless," claimed Izuku. "Useless? We would never think about you like that, Zuku. Also, what do you mean, like your parents? What did Inko and Toshinori do?" wondered Aizawa. "What did they do? They neglected me. I was 10 working all around the city so I could get enough money to stay alive," screamed Izuku as tears started rushing to his eyes. "What? Are you joking? Do I look like I'm joking, Aizawa? Can you please tell me what happened?" "Izuku, please, I want to know everything." "You want to know everything? Fine, you'll know everything. Since I was 4 and I was told that my quirk was useless, my parents started neglecting me to the point where they didn't provide me with any money or food or even water. I had to work to get money and I had to face bullying in my school by none other than my sister and bakugo and their little minions. Informed Izuku. Aizawa was taken back by what his nephew said. He felt his blood boiling because of his close friends and their daughter, but he didn't say anything. Was it bad? The bullying? Said Aizawa with a soft voice. Was it bad? They hated me so much to the point they raped me. Shouted the teen. That was the sentence that broke Aizawa into a million pieces. His eyes watered as his body started shivering from what his nephew said. I was raped and no one was there to help me. Not even you, not even the uncle I loved and trusted more than anything. Said Izuku. He couldn't hold his tears back as he started sobbing while he hugged his knees. Aizawa tried to hug him and comfort him. Izuku created a sword and pushed him back. He had the sword right next to his uncle's neck. Don't touch me, he spat out. Aizawa didn't say anything until Izuku completely erased the sword from existence. Izuku, I know that you won't believe me, but please let me tell you this. I never forgot nor neglected you. I've been trying to talk to you for years. The gifts we sent you might have been given to your sister, but trust me, they definitely were yours. Said Aizawa. Aizawa smiled a little before turning around and heading out of the room. He was on the verge of tears knowing that he couldn't help his nephew. Out of a sudden he was stopped, feeling two hands wrapping around him. He stood still, knowing very well who the person that hugged him was. None of the two said any word. Instead they stood still while tears rolled down their eyes. Third-person POV. The day after Izuku woke up, he went to his classroom and was immediately attacked by a hug from his entire classroom. He was told of everything that happened while he was passed out, including that the public was informed about the attack that happened at 𝗧𝗏. During that time, some of the teachers of UA were having a meeting about the 𝗧𝗏 attack and the nomu that the villains might have more of. Izuku also saw a video that showed some scene of them fighting, which worried him. I don't want the public seeing those. I stabbed a villain in her shoulder, they might be scared of me now. He thought to himself. Once Aizawa was near the class, Izuku asked everyone to calm down, and not to his surprise the entire class except Izumi and bakugo listened to him. Aizawa walked into the classroom and he saw Izuku, who shot a smile in his direction, which forced Aizawa to hold back his own smile. Listen brats, our fight isn't over, spoke Aizawa. The entire class tensed up, thinking that they had to fight more villains, until Aizawa continued. The UA Sports Festival is about to start, he informed. Why would he scare us like that? Thought most of the class to themselves. Sir, is it a good idea to have the sports festival so soon after the villains attacked the school and our classroom? Asked a purple-haired girl called 𝗘𝗁𝗅. Yes, in fact it's the best time to do this, answered Izuku instead of his uncle. Why is that, Izuku? Asked Tsu. Having the sports festival now will show the public that the school has handled the threat and that the public is safe, answered Izuku. What he said. Also, security is beefed up during the festival this year, so there's nothing to worry about. This event is a great opportunity for all the students of UA. We can't cancel it for some villains. It's one of the most watched events in the world. Aizawa spoke. It'll also be a great opportunity since a lot of pro heroes will be watching and analyzing us, so we could end up having the chance to work as their sidekicks in their agencies, said Momo. Exactly, this is an event that will help us gain experience, which is why it matters if we want to go pro, added Izuku. Stop interrupting me, you two, even if you're correct. But yes, what they said is true, so don't slack in training, all of you. Class is dismissed, spoke Aizawa. Once the teacher left the classroom, the students started talking together about the festival. Izuku didn't want to engage in any conversation even though his close group of friends were surrounding him. He heard Uraraka shouting in excitement, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he entered his mindscape to talk to his family. What kind of training should I be doing? The rest of the students are definitely planning to work really hard, said Izuku. Izuku, you have been training harder than everyone else for months, if not years. Give yourself a break. It's not like anyone in the school has anything to compete with you, answered Boruto while holding the teen and putting him on his shoulders. Boruto. I'm 16, put me down. Also, some students are really powerful, you never know, maybe they'd end up beating me, whined Izuku. Boruto, said Naruto, which made the younger blonde gulp in fear. Don't put him down, said Naruto while sticking his tongue out. Rude, shouted Izuku while Boruto and the rest giggled. You can always work on more jutsus. The Rasengan could be very useful in fighting, said Kawaki. But I already can make a Rasengan, said Izuku. Yeah, you can make it, but it's not strong enough. Work on controlling it and adding more chakra to it. During that time you can use your shadow clones and learn some more elemental jutsus as you barely know any, said Sasuke. Izuku sighed and nodded. He then smacked Boruto's head and left his mindscape before the blonde can do anything. Well deserved, said Sarada. Back in the real world, Izuku started walking with his friends into the cafeteria. Passing by, he heard Izumi and his father and mother talking about one for all, which made him sigh and continue walking. Ignore everything about them, Izuku. You don't need his stupid quirk, said Sakura in his mind. Izuku smiled as he continued walking. He jumped on Ida's back. Oh dear Ida, your best friend here is tired. Would you mind taking him onto the cafeteria? Asked Izuku in a fake deep voice. Oh, of course, fellow classmate, what are friends for? Said Ida with the same fake voice. The rest of the group burst into laughter while they were walking into the cafeteria. They got their food and sat down together to discuss the sports festival. Izuku then mentioned that they aren't allowed to use their costumes during the festival, instead they would be wearing the school's sports uniform. That statement made Momo smile a little, which didn't go unnoticed by Izuku. He sighed in sadness knowing that his friend had to fight with a uniform that was so revealing it made her uncomfortable. They changed the topic to not make anyone more uncomfortable. After the break ended, they went back to their class. A few moments passed by and Izuku heard a crowd beside the classroom. He opened the door and found a bunch of students standing outside. The class freaked out about who they were until Izuku calmed them down. Calm down guys, they are just here to check out the class that survived the villain's attack. Just settle back in your places, said Izuku. The entire class did as told, which made the students outside start mumbling and talking CRP. Well, they definitely listened to him like some little dogs, said a student from class 1B with silver hair. That statement made Izuku's blood boil. He went towards the students and activated his Sharingan, which made most of them gulp in fear. He focused the chakra in his hand as the tips of his fingers started glowing a red color. He smashed the wall next to the boy's head, shattering it completely. Leave before I shatter your bones just like this wall, he threatened. The students did as he said and ran away while he sighed and went back to his seat. Thank you for that, Izuku-kun, said Ida. No need to, they're annoying, replied Izuku. The rest of the class were either laughing or complaining that the other classes might target them after that. Third-person POV. The students had 2 weeks to train for the festival. Izuku decided to do what Sasuke told him to and to help Ida after the latter asked him to train with him, but too bad for the teen, his friends had other plans in mind. Guys, how do you guys plan to train? Asked Kirishima the entire class. I'm still not sure, answered Kaminari. Same, answered most of the class. Bakugo and Izumi already left to start their own training in order to defeat Izuku. I'm going to train with Izuku-kun. He's obviously the strongest and smartest in our classroom, so I'll train with him. He already told me that he'll gladly aid me during those 2 weeks, answered Ida. The entire class looked at the guy with fascination and a hint of jealousy. Lucky, said Uraraka. So manly, dude, I wish I could train with Izuku, shouted Izuku. How about we ask Izuku to train with us too? He can clone himself, we saw that. So maybe he'd clone himself to help us train, said 𝗬𝗪. But that would cause him a lot of stamina and time. He might not even have enough time to train himself, said Momo. If that is true, then Izuku would tell us that he can't train us, then we'll obviously not ask him again, said Toru Hagakure. Momo didn't say anything back, but she knew very well that even if Izuku didn't have the time to train a literal entire class, he'd still do it. She sighed as she watched the entire class agreeing, then walking back to their houses waiting for the next day, as they didn't know where Izuku's house was. The next day, Izuku entered the classroom only to find all of his classmates surrounding him. Hey guys, something wrong? Asked Izuku. Izuku-kun, we heard that you are going to train Ida, so we wondered if you could help us too, said Ojiro. Yeah, if it isn't so much though, added Mina. Yes, sure, but my house isn't big enough to train all of you guys, so are you okay with me training you all in different places? Asked Izuku. The students stared at each other, then looked back at Izuku and nodded. Izuku smiled as he then asked them to follow him to Training Ground A, which the other students did. Unaware to them, Nizu was, once again, keeping an eye on them alongside Aizawa and Mike. Once in the training grounds, Izuku summoned 18 shadow clones. Okay, I won't have the time to train all of you guys on my own, so keep one of my clones with you these 2 weeks so he could train you, he ordered. The class nodded their heads and Izuku smiled. Each clone then held a student in his hands and jumped away to take them to a unique training area that would fit their abilities. The original Izuku was left behind in Training Ground A. He entered the training arena and started his own training. His training consisted of summoning all the clones he could summon and forming Rasengan as fast as possible. He didn't start immediately though, as he noticed the 𝗕𝗵𝗃 that Nizu and the teachers were watching him through. He held 4 kunai and threw them in a way that each reflected the other in a way to destroy all 4 cameras. What a talented and smart nephew we have, said Nizu with his casual, joyful tone. That was really cool. Cooed Mike, I wonder how useful his help will be for the rest of the classroom, deadpanned Aizawa. I'm sure your class is in great hands, Aizawa. The only thing that truly is confusing is Izuku's true quirk. No one knows what it is nor its extent, said Nizu. Mike and Aizawa agreed with him, then left the office as they didn't have anything more to do after Izuku destroyed the cameras. Back to the classroom, every student was taken to a specific place which Izuku saw best to train them. Some were taken to literal mountains near the clouds and volcanoes, while others were in simple gyms and training grounds or forests. Every student was training to win, and Izuku was aware of that, but instead of rejecting that and trying to stay at the top, he helped all of them and saw it as a better competition for himself to test his personal abilities. UA kept heroes all around the country to check the safety of the people, and with them were small cameras to show the school everything that is happening. Nizu called the pros working in the school to his office again so they could watch the students train. Through one screen, the pros saw Izuku pushing 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗃 quirk to its limit as he was fighting against a literal volcano. The volcano was erupting a little, and Izuku saw stopping its flow as an opportunity to train the half-cold, half-hot quirk boy. Shoto was generating ice pillars and waves that truly were stronger than the lava of the volcano. On another screen were Izuku and Ida, who were running in a race where Izuku was definitely keeping up with the speed quirk hero in training. During the race, Izuku and Yuta were throwing punches at each other and trying to defeat the other, but the clone kept defeating his best friend over and over again. Another hero in training they saw was Uraraka, which was on the verge if throwing up after floating about a 100 tree in the air while physically fighting the ninja. On a mountain filled with clouds of thunder were Izuku and Kaminari fighting. Izuku was forcing the latter to use all the powers he could find around him, but Kaminari didn't understand what his classmate meant until a few minutes passed by. He absorbed some of the thunder in the clouds, which helped him in fighting the green-haired guy, but he still ended up defeated after his brain was seemingly fried as usual. The rest of the students' training was similar, as it relied mostly on pushing the students' quirks to their extent and enhancing their physical strength, which Izuku deemed as pathetic without their quirks working. The only excuse was Momo, whose training relied on extreme focusing while still fighting Izuku. He was forcing her to create various objects that would aid her while he was fighting her. Yup, definitely in good hands, thought Aizawa. Third-person POV. The 2 weeks passed by with Izuku was training his entire classroom while also training on his personal control and stamina. Class 1A were in the waiting room getting dressed in their sports costumes instead of their hero ones so that they wouldn't have any advantages on each other. The pro heroes were coming from all around the country to watch the festival and possibly find some good sidekicks. Okay everyone, get ready, we'll be entering the arena in a few minutes. Remember, don't panic, we have trained harder than anyone else, so let us put our hard work to good use, said Izuku. The entire class shouted in joy, and Shoto stepped towards Izuku. I just want you to know that I'm still more powerful than you are and that I am going to beat you. There's something between you and All Might that we don't know about, but that doesn't matter since it's only another reason for me to beat you, declared Shoto. The class wanted to step in between the two and stop whatever kind of war declaration Shoto was doing, but Izuku smiled, showing that he's okay. Okay, 𝗬𝗪𝗢𝗏. I'll be waiting to fight you so we can show each other who's the stronger. All the other students are coming with everything they got, so beat them and fight me. I'll be waiting for you," said Izuku. Shoto didn't say anything, instead he nodded and walked away while uttering a fine. A few moments passed by and the festival finally started. A huge screen lit up in the arena showing the pro hero present mic. "Hello everyone and welcome into UA's sports festival. This year we're seeing a hot performance unlike any before. Now, are you ready?" screamed Mike. The entire crowd started cheering and saying that they were ready after the introduction. "Please welcome to the stage, Class 1A, the 𝗕𝗁𝗁𝗁 students who fought against the villains and showed amazing potential." The lights focuses on one door which Izuku, followed by the rest of his classmates, stepped out of. The entire crowd started screaming after the entrance of the class, which made Izuku get a little anxious, but he continued normally as he knew that his class relied on him. Present Mike then introduced the other first years who, much to their disappointment, got barely any recognition by the people watching. The pro hero Midnight then started her speech. "Now that the introductory speech is finished, let's get to the real stuff," said Midnight. The crowd alongside some students were simping over the R-rated hero and talking about her extremely revealing costume until she shut all of them up. "And now for the student pledge who had scored the highest in the entrance exam, we have Izuku Yagi," she declared. Izuku stepped towards the stand which Midnight was speaking on while his class cheered for him. The other classes alongside Izumi and Bakugo were cursing him for yet once again being the center of spotlight. Izuku stood next to Midnight and held the microphone while taking a deep breath. "The words I'd like to declare aren't various, but they come purely out of my personal beliefs. I'd like to say that I wish all of you the best of luck, and I hope that the other classes, who wouldn't otherwise get it, could finally receive the attention and respect that they deserve just like my class does," Izuku stated. The crowd and Class 1A cheered even harder, with some students from the other classes now joining them and clapping for the teen. Izuku then went back to his class where he received a bunch of compliments by his classmates for his respect towards their rivals. "Well, that speech was lovely, but now without further ado let's begin the first part of the festival, and 𝗕𝗏𝗧𝗏, said Midnight while the spinning wheel next to her started rolling. It took a few seconds before stopping on obstacle race. Today, all of the classes will participate in this contest where they should pass kilometers around the stadium while being free to do whatever their heart desires as long as they don't leave the course. The crowd shouted even harder while the contestants started getting ready for their race. "And now take your places," ordered Midnight. All the students stood in front of the gate, but Izuku alongside some other strong students like Todoroki and Ida were all the way back as the teachers ordered. Less than a minute passed by when the lights turned on and the students rushed in. They crowed at each other, but Izuku used his chakra to stick to the wall and jump away, giving himself a boost, immediately becoming the first. After him was Todoroki, who froze most of the entrance, followed by more of his classmates, each using their quirk in a way to help them escape the ice. "This is going to be fun." Third-person POV Izuku ran, focusing the chakra on his feet to give him a boost, and to his luck Shoto was busy with stopping the other contestants including Ida. He kept running for a few minutes until he saw Ida, Bakugo and Shoto after him by a few meters. He didn't bother to look at them as he continued running until he was interrupted by a group of huge robots similar to those of the entrance exam. He smirked as he destroyed all of the robots, gathering them on each other to block the other students for at least a little bit. He continued what he first was doing while the other students were trying to destroy the robots that he left behind. Shoto was the one to freeze all of them, blocking the rest while he used his powers to seemingly fly in the air. Some of the students like Ida, Bakugo and Izumi followed Shoto, each using their quirk to try and catch up with Izuku, who was now nowhere to be found. Izuku during that time was still running away, destroying all the villains in his way either by smashing them or cutting them using his weapons or destroying their electricity cords. He then reached an arena with huge pillars and a rope connecting all of them together. He smirked as he jumped towards the first pillar and used a fire jutsu to destroy the rope to give himself the upper hand once again. He then finished the second phase, which present Mike referred to as the fall, in a matter of seconds, jumping from a pillar to a pillar. He then headed and reached the third phase, which was a landmine field. He created 2 shadow clones, then used the clones to blast himself all the way to the end of the minefield. He then continued running while still using his chakra just like at the beginning of the test. Once he reached the end, he removed the rope and stepped in, winning the first place in the first part. "I didn't want to get my shirt dirty," he said to himself. The crowd cheered for the hero in training, who waited for a few minutes before Shoto, Bakugo, Ida and Izumi stepped in respectively. People won the first phase of the festival and Midnight was discussing the second phase. The spinning wheel started moving until it stopped at the cavalry battle. You participants should form groups from 2 to 4 people as you see fit. Each player has a point battle relative to their obstacle race score. The points go up by 5 starting from the bottom. The point value if the first contest end is 10 million, explained Midnight. Izuku smirked as he saw all of the students looking his way, most likely planning to take his band and gain his points. All of the teams were formed and Izuku was left back on his own. "Excuse me, Miss Midnight. I believe none of the contestants want to join my team, so I was wondering if I could possibly use clones of myself instead. If it isn't against the rules, that is. Nothing impedes that you can't. Go ahead if no one really wants to be on your team. But your clones will have no points value," said Midnight. Izuku smiled and nodded as he made 2 clones of himself. Midnight then explained that the points of all the group's members will be added together and written on a headband. Swipe as many headbands as possible and have them wrapped around your neck. You can keep playing until all 15 minutes are done, explained Midnight. You can use your quirks as much as you like and you have no limits except vitally damaging the other team's members, continued the hero. After all the teams were made, Midnight declared the beginning of the battle. All the teams rushed at each other trying to steal Izuku's headband in order to get the 10 million points to win. Izuku smirked as he jumped in the air and created several spheres of electrical energy and launched them at the teams. Once the spheres made contact with the teams, they electrocuted them and threw them back. Since when can he use electricity? Thought everyone watching the fight. The teams gained back their strength as they started attacking him, combining their strengths to put him down. Bakugo tried to blast him while Shoto shot his ice towards him, but Izuku was fast enough to dodge the attacks and cause them to clash together. He then used his clones as stairs that he stood on. He smirked a little before 10 balls of fire appeared around him as he threw every one of them towards a team, throwing most of them out the arena. He kept the same strategy for minutes as he dodged all the attacks while fighting back on rare occasions. Noticing that it was pointless to keep trying to get his headband, the other teams started fighting together, which allowed Izuku to take 2 headbands with low numbers, but he didn't care much about that as he was already the winner in that battle. The bell rang signaling the end of the battle and most contestants fell down in exhaustion. Izuku was then declared as the person in first place, followed by Bakugo and Izumi's team, then Shoto's team, followed by Shinsu's team. Once the second phase was done, all the heroes in training were sent back to rest. Izuku and Shoto, on the other hand, stayed together as Shoto wanted to discuss a few things with Izuku. Third-person POV, all the students were taking a lunch break in order to restore their energy. Todoroki instead took Izuku aside, wanting to confront him about an important discussion. "Now that we are here, how can I help you, Todoroki-kun?" asked Izuku. Shoto didn't say anything. Instead, he stared coldly at the other teen, whom only smiled back for a few moments. "You made me break my promise. I was so overwhelmed with your strength that I broke the oath I had to not use my left side in battle," said Todoroki, breaking the silence. That statement made Izuku wonder why his classmate had such a vow on himself, even thought his left side might help him in various ways. "I noticed also that the 2 times you won and saw Izumi or All Might, you glared at them, so what in the world is the relationship you 2 hold with the number 1 hero?" added Todoroki. "And why should I answer anything? I'd gladly give you what you need for one thing in return. I'd like to know why you had such a vow placed on yourself, even thought the usage of your fire half would be vitally practical for your hero career," said Izuku. "If that's the case, then I'll answer. My father is the number 2 hero, which I'm sure you are aware of considering how smart you are. You being connected to the number 1 hero means that we are meant to be rivals just as much as they are. My old man's only goal is to reach the top, which is why he's trying to take down All Might and become the number 1 hero. My father couldn't do that as he wasn't strong enough. Instead he bribed my mother's family to take her and make a kid that had both the hot and cold sides, me. All of the memories of my mother were her crying. She once called my left side unbearable as she poured boiling hot water on my face. The reason I plan on defeating you is to show my father that I am strong enough to be at the top while rejecting his power, and I promise you that I am going to beat you," explained Todoroki. Izuku's emotions were in a roller coaster as he didn't know whether he should feel bad for his classmate or feel furious over the number 2 pro hero's actions. Izuku sighed as he stepped in front of Todoroki and gave him a pat on the shoulder. Before going back to his first place, "I'm sorry for the actions of your father Todoroki-kun, but it's my turn to confess my part. As you know, me and Izumi are siblings, and what I expected from nearly everyone to notice is our parents, since we both have the literal same hair as our parents. Anyways, I don't want to extend this conversation, but I do respect that you noticed my actions towards All Might, my father," spoke Izuku. Todoroki was taken back by the last sentence, but he said nothing as he considered it as another reason to beat the green-haired teen and show that he didn't require his father's help. And obviously everyone knows that All Might is married to Magneto, my mother. I've never had a good relationship with my family, and it isn't just because I don't feel like getting close to my family. It was back when I was 4 and I was diagnosed as quirkless, as the doctor that scanned my quirk didn't know how it works and said that it was useless. After hearing that, my parents started to completely neglect me, not providing me with even my basic human needs like money, water, food, or whatever else. My sister and childhood best friend, Kachan, whom you all know as bakugo, started bullying me. In fact, the entire school bullied me, and not bullied me as in insulted me. I was constantly beaten to near death on the daily basis by the students and sometimes even some teachers, using their quirks on me since they considered me a pathetic excuse of a kid dreaming to become a hero. All my clothes were torn up because of the bullying. I was constantly starving for days when I couldn't find food at home nor had any money to buy food. Whenever I tried to talk to my parents, they just push me away, literally, saying that they have no time for me and then focusing back on my sister. This, dear Todoroki, is what kind of relationship I have with the number 1 hero that you and your father plan to bypass," explained Izuku. Todoroki was overwhelmed with all the information he was given that he didn't notice Izuku stepping away as the lunch break was done and the bell rang. "Make sure to defeat everyone so we could get to fight each other, Todoroki," ordered Izuku as he went back to the school. Todoroki sighed as he nodded and followed his classmate back into the arena. Izuku and Todoroki entered the arena and everyone else was already waiting for them and for Mike to start explaining. "All right everyone, it's the time for the 3rd and last phase of the UA Sports Festival. We have 16 students who have advanced into the tournament part of the festival, and now it's their time to shine by fighting each other to show US which one winner will deserve the top spot. And the person to draw out the competitors is Midnight," announced Mike. Before Midnight commenced the drawing to determine the pairing for the tournament event, 𝗵𝗃𝗍 requested withdrawal from the event, saying that his participation in the human cavalry battle was done by being manipulated and insinuated that it was because of Hitoshi's quirk. 𝗵𝗃𝗍 said that he understood that the tournament event is a rare opportunity and that walking away would be foolish, but while everyone had given their best on their own, he didn't do to being manipulated. 𝗕𝗫𝗁𝗍𝗪 from Class 1B also requested to resign, feeling that he didn't deserve to participate in the tournament event for the same reason as the one before. Midnight, liking their reasoning for resignation, accepted 𝗵𝗃𝗍 and 𝗕𝗫𝗁𝗍𝗪's requests for withdrawal from the tournament event. Midnight then said that the open slots would be filled in by the team that placed 5th, Team Kendo, but Team Kendo decided to give the opportunity to Team Tetsu, much to Tetsu's happiness. Midnight then announced that Tetsu and 𝗬𝗲 will be replacing 𝗵𝗃𝗍 and 𝗕𝗫𝗁𝗍𝗪. After the drawing took place, Midnight showed the pairings for the tournament event. Izuku saw that his opponent is Hitoshi Shinso. Izuku smiled as he decided to take revenge for his friend getting manipulated, and that was exactly what he did. Third-person POV Izuku was getting ready to fight Hitoshi and defeat him so he could advance to the second round where he would fight Shoto. He was heading out of the waiting room when 𝗵𝗃𝗍 appeared. "Izuku, make sure that you say nothing to that guy. I barely said a word before he gave me an order and I lost all control over my body, same with the guy of Class 1B. Warned the tailed teen. Oh, a mind control quirk. Don't worry, I'll defeat him and win for not only me but both of us, said Izuku. The other teen only smiled and nodded while Izuku ran towards the arena so he could defeat the purple-haired hero in training. They entered the arena and 𝗵𝗃 started the battle in a matter of seconds. Your friend before was pretty dumb to withdraw, but what else would you expect from a student of class 1A? You all are nothing but privileged people with great quirks. None of you knows how it's like for people like me born without heroic strong quirk. You are nothing but a blessed brat, said Shinso, trying to get on Izuku's nerves. Izuku was getting mad, especially hearing the last sentence, but he didn't say anything. He glared at Hitoshi and walked slowly towards him. Hitoshi wanted to ask what the latter was doing, but he couldn't open his mouth before Izuku focused the chakra in his foot and kicked the purple-haired teen all the way out of the arena, shattering the wall that he hit. Hitoshi Shinso is defeated since he was kicked out of the arena. But what is Izuku Yagi doing walking towards him? Said Mike. Izuku went towards Hitoshi and helped him stand up, which confused the purple-haired teen. I want to talk to you after the festival is over, mentioned Izuku. Hitoshi didn't understand why, but he just nodded, scared to open his mouth so he wouldn't end up possibly killed. Everyone watching didn't get the time to react, considering how fast Izuku defeated his rival. After a few moments they all started cheering. Some of the students and pros started complimenting Shinso, which made him give a speech about how he eventually would join the hero course and train with Izuku. After their match started Shoto and Tsuruo's fight, which didn't last long as Shoto froze most of the arena and even some surrounding area to finish the fight as fast as possible and match against Izuku. Once Tsuruo said that he couldn't move, he was deemed the loser while Shoto advanced to the second round. A number of fights passed by and Class 1A showed how stronger they were compared to the other classes, but after every fight they said a "thank you Izuku," which confused the pros and others watching. Izuku focused on all the battles to make sure of every weakness he could find so he could use it to his advantage, then warn them about it later. The match that he was mostly intrigued by was Bakugo versus 𝗬𝗓𝗏, and the only reason it affected him was how everyone was downgrading 𝗬𝗓𝗏, but the girl did end up losing, which made Izuku promise her to beat the dark blonde-haired boy. But that fight had to wait as it was finally his turn against Todoroki. Before he went to the arena, he met with 𝗕𝗵𝗆, where the pro hero tried to insult the kid a little before asking him to fight his son as hard as he can, knowing that his masterpiece was destined to beat him. Mike already did the presentation and Izuku walked towards Todoroki without any intention to attack him. Todoroki allowed him before Izuku stuck his hand out for a handshake. Shoto accepted it and shook his hand, confusing everyone watching once again. Good luck, Todoroki-kun. You too, Izuku. They both smiled and Shoto tried to attack Izuku, but the latter blocked his hand and they both jumped away from each other. Shoto attacked the green-haired teen with his ice, only for Izuku to smash it with a chakra-infused punch. Izuku then ran towards him while summoning a chakra sword. Shoto used his ice to create a shield, but Izuku cut it with ease and went to slash Todoroki, not in full speed to not end up killing him, but the latter jumped away. Shoto kept using his ice to attack Izuku just like he did against Tsuruo, but the green-haired only smashed all of them or cut them using his weapons. He ran towards Shoto with full speed and created a clone that helped him make a Rasengan, which he then slammed against Shoto and made him fly away, only for Shoto to use his ice to prevent 𝗵𝗃𝗏 leaving the arena. Shoto then rushed towards him to freeze him, but Izuku once again dodged it and shattered the ice. He ran towards Shoto to punch him, but the latter summoned an ice shield to block him. The crowd were in absolute confusion as to why Shoto wasn't using his fire side, and 𝗕𝗵𝗆 was absolutely furious. Todoroki, you have heard my story and you know very well that I've also rejected my father, so stop downgrading me. You haven't even scratched me yet you think that you can defeat me with half your strength. Stop being ignorant and come at me with all your strength. That power is yours, not 𝗕𝗵𝗆's, so come at me and show me why you're not him, said Izuku. That last statement made Shoto break as he felt fire rush through his body. He exploded in flames that took over half the arena. He attacked Izuku with his fire, only for the teen to slam his hands on the ground, creating a mud wall which blocked the attack. Is this all you got, Todoroki? You plan to defeat me with that? Shouted Izuku. Todoroki smirked before attacking him with the strongest ice attack he could perform, He then used all his fire to ignite the cold 𝗵𝗃𝗵 as a final attack. Izuku in return summoned about 20 clones and every 2 of him created a 𝗕𝙢𝗫𝗀 and jumped at him. Seeing the destruction that the clash might cause, Midnight stepped in and used her quirk to make them sleep while 𝗬𝗵𝗲 created a cement wall between the 2 combatants in an attempt to stop them. However, both Izuku and Shoto pressed onwards with their attacks while the latter was thanking Izuku to himself. The shock wave that the clash caused was felt throughout the entire arena and the smoke took over the entire ground. Once said smoke disappeared, everyone saw Shoto on the ground unable to move while Izuku stood still in his place, barely scratched body, nearly completely torn outfit. Shoto Todoroki passed out. Izuku Yagi wins. Said Mike. The entire crowd fell into a state of shock before cheering harder than ever before. All the pros were in either shock or confusion and fury, though the last 2 fell on All Might and 𝗕𝗏𝗧𝗏. Izuku went towards Shoti, who looked at him with a smile implanted on his face. "I lost," admitted Shoto. "No, we both won no matter who the winner of this round was," answered Izuku. He then stuck his hand out and Shoto gladly accepted. He helped his friend up as he hugged him, which the latter also returned with a rare smile. "You're truly special, Izuku. Only you can do something like this," thought Aizawa to himself while looking down at his students. Third-person POV. Izuku and Todoroki left the arena together and headed to the waiting room where they would be meeting with their classmates. Once they entered, Izuku noticed the shock that has taken over everyone's expressions. He looked at Yururika and Iida and noticed that they both had utterly sad expressions. Shoto entered and sat down to rest after the exhausting battle he had a few minutes ago. Yururika, Iida-kun, are you guys okay? What in the world happened and why is everyone shocked?" questioned Izuku. "Bakugo," confessed Yururika. Izuku was taken back by what she said. He stood still without saying a word with the same shocked expression the rest had. He and Izumi fought. At first he was the one that showed the signs of winning, but Izumi surprised everyone when she punched the ground, shattering most of the arena, and then shot all the rubble at him with her telekinesis. "We thought that he'd explode them, but while he was doing that she punched him straight in the stomach and then kicked him using her quirk, so he ended up flying out of the arena," added Iida. "But I promised Yururika to be the one that defeats him," thought Izuku to himself. "Hey, it's okay, Izuku just beat Izumi, it would be a double win both for you and Yururika," answered him Kawaki. Izuku only sighed as he nodded slowly. He patted Iida and Yururika's shoulders before sitting down next to Todoroki so he could also take his break. After a number of matches there, it was the rule for the semi-finals, and the 4 students that were still standing were Izuku, Izumi, Iida and 𝗵𝗃𝗫𝗁. Izumi was the one chosen to fight 𝗕𝗁, and she ended up breaking both her hands and severely injuring her body, but at the end she was the one that won. Izuku, on the other hand, was unlucky enough to be out against his best friend, and, while Izuku didn't want to fight him, he knew that he had to win so he could fight Izumi and defeat her as a win for all his friends. The battle went by Iida using his speed to try and take Izuku out with his speed, and Izuku dodging all of his attacks, not wanting to fight him. When Iida noticed that he confronted Izuku about it while still attacking him, the blue-haired asked him actually fight him and that he felt like Izuku was making him feel pathetic and weak. Izuku didn't like that, so he did end up fighting Iida and defeated him when 3 clones captured Iida while Izuku blasted him with a 𝗕𝗫𝗀𝗀. Iida and Izuku ended up going to the waiting room together, and everyone congratulated Izuku for winning and Iida for his amazing speed that had obviously and visibly changed since training with Izuku. Izuku and Izumi were then both called into the arena to start the final battle and choose the winner. They both stepped in while the entire crowd was cheering for the top 2 students of the festival. "I'm going to beat you and show you that I'm still better than you," spat out the blonde. Izuku didn't say anything, only giving her a side eye and listening to present Mike. "Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's all hype up the Yagi siblings who have shown great heroism and strength since the start of the festival. Let's all show them who is the one that deserves to win. Izuku or Izumi?" shouted Mike. The crowd screamed the names of the 2, and while it seemed pretty equal, Izuku's name was easily more visible. Now let's start the last battle of the festival in 3, 2, 1. Angel, Izumi ran towards Izuku to punch him with a 5% one-for-all punch, but her twin easily dodged it, taking a step to the left. "I have a great idea," said Izuku in his mind. "What is this great idea of yours?" questioned Sasuke. "Izumi and Bakugo humiliated me for years in front of everyone," said Izuku. "Yeah, we are aware of that," said Sarada. "I know that, the point is we are fighting in front of everyone," answered Izuku. "Yeah, and that may oh no you won't," said Sakura after understanding what the green-haired said. "I'm easily stronger than her, so why not humiliate her back? Maybe then she'd learn from her mistakes and suffer the consequences of her actions," explained Izuku. The rest wanted to say that it was a bad idea, but they all also really liked the idea of her tasting a spoon of her medicine. Izuku snapped back to reality as he dodged another punch. "Stop staying on defensive and fight me, Deku," she growled. Izuku only smirked as he moved beside her, and before she could notice him, he kicked her in the stomach, making her stumble back. She glared at him and rushed in with yet another useless attack, which he dodged. Izuku created two clones. One kicked her back while the other pushed her to the ground. Izumi was getting angry. She charged a 100% at Izuku and punched him, only for Izuku to poof. "A clone," she wondered in her head. "Falling for the same trick again, are we?" he mocked. Izumi now stood with a broken hand that couldn't handle her 100%. She ran towards him with a 100% in the other hand. He jumped and landed on her back, standing still. He stood there for a few seconds before jumping off her back. She tried to hit him again but failed. She instead decided to punch the ground again to shatter it and use the rubble and attack him. She did do that using her telekinesis, but Izuku was fast enough to do a huge fireball which cleared everything thrown its way. Izumi tried to charge a 100% using her already broken hand, but Izuku once again dodged it. He was getting bored from the fight, so he chopped Izumi's neck, making her fall on the ground. He then created a chakra sword and held it next to her, which made her shiver in fear. I give up," mumbled Izumi, scared for her life. Izuku smirked as he unsummoned his sword and looked at Magneto, who was sitting now standing next to All Might, straight in the eye. "Izuku Yagi is the winner," shouted Mike third-person POV after Izumi's humiliating loss. The entire crowd fell into cheering and screaming. Izuku smirked to himself as he walked towards Izumi, who was on the ground with broken arms and full of scars. He stuck out his hand to her and smiled a little, which made her blood boil. "Are you okay, Izumi? Do you need your 𝗕𝗨𝗧𝗏's help to stand up?" said Izuku with the most mocking tone he could use. Izumi felt her ego shatter. She smacked Izuku's hand away, but instead of showing any shocked expression, he smirked. "What great sportsmanship you're showing, Mrs. Future #1 Hero," he said as he walked away. And after that interesting family moment, the UA Sports Festival ended, and the first-year champion of the first-year sports festival is Izuku Yagi of Class 1A, shouted Mike. "The first students have shown great work during this year's sports festival, and now it's time to relax and enjoy the awards ceremony," added Midnight. The top 3 students were shown. On top was Izuku, followed by Izumi in second place, and both Tokoyami and Ida standing together in third place. Now there's only one person worthy of distributing the awards, and I think we all know who it is, said Midnight. All Might appeared, and the entire crowd were more than jealous from the Class 1A students. All Might gave the second and third place winner awards to the 3 students below Izuku while giving them some notes about their performance. He then gave the first place gold medal to Izuku. "Good job, young Yagi," he said with his usual smile. Izuku only gave him a smile while accepting the medal. "And now it's time for the winner's speech," screamed Mike. Izuku sighed as he headed to the stadium and stood still in front of the mic, seeing all the cameras directed at him. He looked at his friends and saw them giving him smiles and thumbs up, trying to show him all the support they could. Izuku sighed and looked directly at the huge screen in front of him and started talking. "I haven't prepared any important speech, and I don't want to make this long. I just want to say that I'm really grateful for everyone that has helped me to become as strong as I am right now. Thank you all. I also would like to send a message for everyone watching this festival, whether it's here or not. I was lucky enough to get accepted into the hero course, which I consider a drastic step in my hero career, but I know very well that not everyone is as privileged as much as I am. I want to send everyone my support, and I'd like to ask everyone who has ever dreamt of becoming a hero to continue trying no matter what they'll have to face. No matter how your life circumstances are, you also have a chance to get accepted into whatever school you'd like no matter what. I show specific support to quirkless people who at this moment are still suffering all around the world because of their lack of special powers. I'd like to tell you all that you are as valuable as anyone with a quirk and that you are worthy of doing what you dream of. Thank you all again, said Izuku. The entire stadium went silent. They all were pretty touched by the student's speech. "Ooh, how youthful and sweet of you, Izuku," screamed Midnight. The entire crowd and students agreed as they all started clapping for the student and his touching performance. Izuku smiled as he and the rest of the students were then told to go home after the festival was over. The next day, Izuku was going to his school, but what he didn't expect was that his face and speech would be all over the city. While on the way, he met with about 10 kids and a number of adults congratulating him. He saw 2 quirkless people and they both ended up hugging him while crying because of his support towards them. He reached the school and entered the class, and slowly all of his classmates also entered while talking about how everyone recognized them and talked to them. Aizawa then stepped in and immediately started his class after ordering everyone to sit down. "Today's class is Hero Informatics. You all will choose your hero names," said Aizawa. The entire class started cheering, which made Aizawa activate his quirk and shut them all up. This is due to the nominations by pro heroes. The nominations from the pro heroes this year are more akin, and here are the totals of the ones that got offers. On the board appeared all the numbers of the heroes that have nominated the heroes in training. It's usually more spread out, but we can obviously tell who got the most recognition and interest of the heroes, said Aizawa Izuku's side as he looked at the board. There was a huge difference between the numbers. Izuku got nearly 10,000, yet the number fell down all the way to 4123 for Todoroki, and it kept going down more and more to the point where only 9 students were invited. Izuku tried to hold back a smile when he saw that Izumi wasn't chosen by anyone, but he didn't say anything. The rest of the class were mumbling about the unfair distribution. Aizawa did end up explaining that everyone was going to an internship no matter if they were chosen or not before Midnight stepped in explaining the importance of hero names. "And now who would like to share his name?" she said. The entire class started mumbling about how no one would have the ball to step up and speak first. Izuku raised his hand, shocking most of the class. His aunt on the entire hand smiled to herself before asking him to step up and present his name. Izuku did and stood in front of the entire class, raising a board showing the word Deku written on it. "I'd like to go by Deku. This name was used against me as insult since I was younger, so I'd like to use it as a hero name to show that I'm a different Deku that I was before. I am the Deku that doesn't give up and keeps smiling," explained Izuku. "Oh, how lovely," shouted Midnight. Of the class were clapping, whereas Izumi and Bakugo were glaring at him with fury. Izuku then sat back in his place while he watched his friends saying their personal picks for hero names. He was a new Deku now. A Deku that keeps smiling and will always win. Third-person POV. Aizawa distributed the papers which contained each student's possible hero agency, then left the class alongside Midnight. The students started discussing the hero agencies that they wanted to go to, but Izuku didn't join in as he was really confused who to choose from. He looked beside him and saw Todoroki with an uneasy expression. He looked at his friend's paper and saw Endeavor Hero Agency written between the agencies. He then placed a hand on Todoroki's shoulder and smiled at him, making the latter ease in a little. He then turned back to his own paper to see who he would end up with. He was shocked to find some of the top pro heroes offering him to join their agencies. Some of the pros that offered him were Fat Gum, Fourth Kind, MT Lady, and a bunch more. Izuku's eyes widened when he reached a paper that was alone, not connected to the rest. He read through it and found some of the top pro heroes. On the papers was written the agencies of Ryuku, Kamui Woods, Mirko, Edgeshot, Best Jeanist, and Magneto. Above those names was his favorite hero, Hawks. He has loved that hero ever since he graduated a few months ago. The flying hero immediately became one of the heroes of the top 10 as he was currently residing in the number 3 hero after All Might, followed by 𝗕𝗏𝗧𝗏 and above 𝗵𝗃𝗲 that was in the 4th place. Beside Hawks was 𝗕𝗏𝗧𝗏's agency, which Izuku was pretty interested in, even though he knew that 𝗕𝗏𝗧𝗏 probably did that in order to do some weird plan. Izuku sighed as he looked at the paper with confusion. He didn't have any idea who to choose as most of them weren't able to help him in any way possible. Izuku was then suddenly teleported into his mind's ape where all his family was waiting for him. Boruto did the same thing he did before and held Izuku on his back, but the latter didn't even fight back as his mind was too busy with the heroes. "What's wrong, Izuku?" asked Naruto ironically, as he already knew what was wrong by existing in the green-haired boy's mind. "I don't know who to choose. Some of the top pros have invited me and I'm not sure if any of them is even useful to me," answered Izuku. "And that's why we did that for you," answered Kawaki. "What?" questioned the teen. "Izuku, what do all the Otsutsukis and Dad have in common?" asked Boruto. "They're all strong, have a lot of chakra, use a lot of nature transformations and can fly," answered Izuku. "Exactly, and you have absorbed the chakra fruit which contains the chakra of those Otsutsukis," said Sarada. Izuku was still confused as to what they all were implying, so he didn't say anything. "Izuku, we noticed that a lot of the people you faced are able to use their quirks to fly, which would leave you behind since flight is really useful, so during those 2 weeks that you'll be training in the agency you should focus on using this chakra to fly," answered Sakura. "Oh, well that doesn't help much to be honest. A lot of pros can fly," said Izuku. "Yeah, we narrowed down the possibilities, now you have to choose and we'll see if it's a good choice." "Not your mother or 𝗕𝗏𝗧𝗏 though, I hate them," said Kawaki. Izuku sighed as he looked at his hands, still thinking about who to choose. "Well, what about Hawks?" asked Izuku. No one showed any sign of rejections. Hawks was a great hero and possibly the best one when it comes to flying, so he would be a great choice. "Yeah, why not? Speaking of flight, you should start using flying Raijin more often, you're still really slow," said Sasuke. Izuku felt kind of offended but nodded as he knew that the technique that Sasuke spoke of was extremely useful. "Okay, now go tag some of your classmates with the technique formula you have and then turn in your form," said Naruto. Izuku nodded as left his mindscape. He then went towards his friends. He just touched their hands without them noticing and a chakra formula/seal appeared for a second before disappearing. The seal was just a simple full moon with sun around it and a star in the middle of it. After finishing marking most of his class, Izuku went to Nizu's office after sensing Aizawa in there. He knocked on the door and was welcomed in. Once he opened the door, he was met with his 3 uncles and aunts sitting together. "Izuku!" screamed Namuri, rushing towards Izuku and hugging him. He hugged her back, but he was pretty uncomfortable considering that he still hadn't talked with any of his uncles and aunt about how betrayed he felt before he found out that his parents were the ones to blame. Except Aizawa, that is. "Hello Izuku, how can we help you there?" asked Nizu. "I came to submit my form to Aizawa-sensei," answered Izuku. "Oh come on little listener, we're your family, you don't need to call us sensei when not in class," screamed Mike. "My ears," whined the other 3 internally. Izuku only nodded and Aizawa took the paper from his hand and started reading. A few seconds passed by before Aizawa folded the paper. "No," he said. The other 3 people in the room looked at him with confusion as to why he just said no out of nowhere. "You're not applying to his agency," said Aizawa. "What?" questioned Izuku. "This entire thing is to help all the students become better. I don't need some young pro hero flirting with my nephew. I know him too well," said Aizawa. "Shota, what are you talking about? Who is Izuku applying for?" questioned Midnight. Aizawa didn't answer and just gave her the paper and she immediately read. "Oh nice taste Izuku," smirked Namuri. "You guys need to chill, I'm going to train with him, not date him, it's not that huge of a deal," said Izuku. "From what I understood you were talking about Hawks. May we know why you chose him at least? What would he help you with?" questioned Nizu. "It's a part of my quirk, I can use my powers to fly, but I don't even know how to fly, so I need someone to train me use it," answered Izuku. "You can fly too. What can't you do?" whined Mike. "Yeah I can, and I have no idea how far my powers extent is," answered Izuku. "Well if that's the case then fly so I can believe you. ordered Izuku. Izuku was taken back by that. He didn't know how that works, he's never done it before. Izuku, just focus on using the chakra of the fruit and calm down your body, ordered Naruto. Izuku sighed and did just that. He started flying a little, but once he tried to move he started twirling around the office. Izuku used his capture weapon to stop him in his place. Izuku then calmed down and fell to the ground. He looked at his uncles and aunt with a grin. Okay, you're not lying, but why him out of all flying capable heroes? Asked Izuku. If it annoys you much I'll just choose 𝗕𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏 instead, answered Izuku. No! Shouted Izuku. Hell no! Added Kawaki in his brain. Just stick to Hawks, I don't like 𝗕𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏 any better, said Izuku. The others in the room fell into laughter and Izuku thanked him before excusing himself to go home and get ready for his agency. Third-person POV. After the confrontation Izuku had with his family members, he went to his house so he could train a little. It wasn't anything crazy, he just trained to control more of the chakra fruit's chakra. He tried to fly a little, but he wasn't able to move, as with every passing second he felt more chakra leaking out of his body. He was very frustrated because of his inability to control it, but he knew better than to lose control of his emotions. He still continued trying to control it a little, but he was showing no sign of control. After an exhausting 5 hours of training, Izuku went to sleep so he could rest his body until the next day. The following day, he woke up and rushed towards the class where he and his friends would head together to the train station to get distributed in their chosen agencies. Everyone has their hero suits with them, right? Asked Izuku. Everyone nodded and Izuku looked at Izuku, who wasn't carrying the school's suitcase which contained his hero suit. Where is your costume, Yagi? He asked. Izuku showed his wrists where a paper was. On the paper was a fuinjutsu sign which he channeled his chakra to. The case appeared in Izuku's arm when smoke suddenly appeared. I have it sealed away just in case, no pun intended, he said. The entire class looked at him with awe while Izumi and Bakugo glared at him. Show off, mumbled Izumi. Izuku just looked at her and grinned, making her blood boil. Okay, enough of that. Make sure that you speak properly and mind your manners with the heroes during your internship, ordered Izuku. Yes, sir, shouted the class while they entered the bus. The train passed by most of Japan and distributed most of the students until Izuku reached his destiny. He said his goodbyes to his remaining friends, then stepped out to find Hawk's agency. The place he was in was called Kyushu, which he didn't know much about as his parents never really cared enough to take him with them during their little family country trips. But he still knew very well how the agency looked like as he did his research beforehand. The agency was located on top of a white building, the upper floors of which slope on one side to form a hypotenuse. At the top of the building were several satellite dishes. Izuku rushed to the place he was supposed to be, and once he entered he saw Hawks sitting alone on a blue-colored quirk while texting someone on his phone. Hawks, sir, I'm here, said Izuku. Hawks turned around and once his eyes met with Izuku's he grinned and jumped of the coach. He rushed towards Izuku and held his hands. Izuku-kun, I'm happy you chose me. I saw you in the festival, but I didn't know you were this handsome in person, said Hawks. Izuku was confused as to how casually the hero was talking to him, but he grinned at Hawks with visible happiness and excitement. Are you kidding? I'm so excited to meet you. I've been the biggest fan of yours ever since you graduated and became a pro hero. Odd Izuku. Oh, is that so? I'm flattered, Izuku-kun, answered the pro. Izuku smiled a little and he and the pro both sat down to discuss the internship. So why did you choose me out of all the students in the festival? Questioned Izuku. Oh, you showed the best heroism, not to mention that you're definitely the coolest and strongest. Now why did you choose my agency? I'm sure you were given a lot more opportunities, answered Hawks. Oh, yeah, I did get a lot. More than 10,000 offers were given to me. Izuku tried to continue, but the pro cut him off. 10,000 offers. And I was the one chosen. Oh, how lucky am I, said Hawks in a childish way, making Izuku giggle. I chose you because my powers allow me to fly, but I can't control it, and who else is better to teach me than the wing hero himself? Answered Izuku. Hawks smirked a little before looking at Izuku straight in the eye. Oh, you can fly too. Perfect, he said while getting closer to Izuku. Izuku backed away a little before Hawks did the same and stood up and asked Izuku to do the same. Now show me your flying, he ordered. Izuku nodded before doing the same thing. He did the same thing he had done the first. He used his flying in front of his uncles. Oh great, you can float already, now fly around the room, said Hawks. Izuku gulped and started flying slowly and steadily around the room, and he seemed to be doing it amazingly until the air entered from the window that was open before him. The said air caused him to start flying out of control throughout the entire room. Hawks smiled before jumping and catching him. Hawks then jumped to the floor while holding his new student bridle way. Hey there bird, didn't notice you coming through my window, smirked Hawks. Izuku blushed a little before jumping off the hero's hands and standing still, unaware of what he should do after that bad performance. When did you start learning how to fly? Asked Hawks. I found out about it yesterday. I did nothing better than this pathetic excuse of a flight yesterday though, answered Izuku, ashamed a little. Oh no. Learning how to fly, even a little, in one day is fascinating, said Hawks. Really? Asked Izuku. Yup, answered Hawks while popping the P at the end. Izuku smiled a little before looking at the hero straight in the eye, waiting for his coming order. Okay, get in your hero suit. We'll go patrolling around the city and I'll see how much you could control this interesting quirk of yours, ordered Hawks. Yes sir, said Izuku with a salute before he rushed out the room. A few seconds passed by and Izuku reappeared in the room. Hawks, where should I change? He sweat dropped. Hawks couldn't hold back his laughter as he stared at the teen. This is gonna be fun, he thought to himself. Third-person POV. Izuku quickly changed into his beloved hero suit and rushed towards the room that the hero was waiting for him in. Sorry for taking so long, he said while scratching the back of his head. Oh, it's okay. I'd wait for hours straight if it meant seeing this lovely suit of yours, answered the hero. Izuku shrugged it off and smiled back, unaware what he should say. Come on, we're going on patrol. Think you can fly a little out there? Asked Hawks. No, but I can easily jump from a building to another, so don't worry about me, answered Izuku. Hawks nodded a little and left through the window before telling Izuku anything. Izuku followed suit and jumped from the window, landing on the building beside him. Nice one, Izuku-kun. Now let's go stop some villains, said Hawks. You didn't say I was going to actually fight real villains, questioned Izuku. A real hero should always be ready to capture any villain he finds, so show me that you deserve to be called a hero in training, Izuku, said Hawks. Izuku stopped for a little before nodding and taking off, jumping from a building to a building, followed by Hawks flying beside him. They looked around the entire city and were able to find 3 men fighting some lady. Izuku didn't wait for Hawks to do anything. Instead, he jumped in the scene and kicked a guy in his face. He then took out his sword and held it next to another's neck. The 3 thugs gave up and Izuku captured, then took them to the police alongside Hawks and the lady, who thanked Izuku for his bravery. Good job, Izuku, you did a great job, said Hawks. It was just 3 thugs, nothing huge, said Izuku as he was jumping around. Yeah, it's only 3 thugs, but you still saved someone, so good job, said Hawks. Izuku only nodded and continued walking around until he heard his phone exploding with notifications. He opened it while still jumping around and saw that the messages were from his class group chat. He read through the messages and saw that everyone was absolutely suffering because of the heroes they just started training under. Izuku smiled to himself and put his phone away. Chose a good hero to work under. He was like a bird in training. That last thought made him giggle. Hawks looked at him but didn't question it and continued flying around. They spent the entire day the same way, saving everyone they could do until it was night. They went back to the agency together and entered through the window as Hawks was too lazy to enter through the door. This was an amazing day, Hawks-san, said Izuku. I know, right? But the day is still not done. Shot back Hawks. Izuku looked at him with confusion and Hawks smiled before asking him to go and change into a normal outfit. Izuku did that and came back wearing a white hoodie and black cargos, unaware what Hawks was planning. He saw Hawks wearing a similar outfit except with a t-shirt instead of the hoodie. Follow me to the roof, 𝗧𝗵𝗲, ordered Hawks. Izuku didn't understand why that is, but he did follow him. Can you please fly a little? Asked Hawks. Izuku gulped, then sighed before raising slowly of the ground and looking at the wing hero. Hawks smiled before also raising of the ground. He then held Izuku's hand. "Let's take you on a trip so you could see how it is like to fly," said Hawks. Izuku froze, unaware if he should accept or not. Hawks didn't await his answer though, as he started flying with Izuku holding to his hand. "Hawks, what the hell?" screamed Izuku. "Don't worry, I won't let you fall, we're just going on a trip," said Hawks. Izuku sighed as he slowly calmed down and allowed Hawks to fly him around the city. They flew all around the city while Izuku was awing whenever he saw anything in his way. Hawks smiled to himself whenever his new intern showed any interest in the scenes in front of them. He then took him a little higher where they were touching the literal clouds. They continued their trip for a few hours before Hawks and Izuku were standing on the roof of a tall building. Izuku smiled and hugged Hawks without saying a word, and the barely older guy hugged him back. Third-person POV. Izuku's 4 days of internship with Hawks passed the same, with them patrolling and saving hundreds of people every day and then flying around the city. Izuku seemed to have improved with his flying a lot, as he on the 4th day flew alone with Hawks beside him. On the 5th day, Izuku and Hawks were patrolling when Izuku suddenly fell from the air. Hawks quickly caught him before he reached the ground. "Izuku-kun, what is wrong?" asked the pro hero. "I can sense an evil presence. A very evil and wicked presence," he answered. "Where?" asked Hawks. "I don't know. Stay here, I'll go check it, and if it's something big, I'll teleport to you," said Izuku. "No, I'm training you, but that doesn't mean I'll allow you to go somewhere that you might get hurt," answered Hawks. "But you can't leave with me. There are a lot of villains around here, I can sense them. Also, it's not like anyone could hurt me, you're the one that trained me after all," said Izuku. "He's the one who trained you. I'm going to murder you one day," said Boruto. Izuku held back a chuckle as he looked at Hawks. The pro hero sighed and looked at Izuku, his eyes holding tenderness. "Okay, fine, but tell me what happens. Also, did you say teleport?" asked Hawks. "Okay, thank you, Hawks-kun, and yeah, I did say teleport. It's a way of using my powers. I can teleport to people I have marked with a special seal," said Izuku. "And I'm marked?" questioned the hero. "Yeah, I tend to mark everyone I care about in case of any emergency," said Izuku. "You care about me?" Izuku only rolled his eyes as he flew away to find where the evil presence was. It took him a few minutes to reach the place where the presence was at its strongest, since he had to fly through a full city. He reached Hosu City and started flying around until he felt the Dake presence attacking him. He went to the source and hid behind a wall. His eyes widened with fear as he saw the hero killer, 𝗧𝗵𝗲. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 was standing on a man while holding a sword, obviously ready to kill him. When Izuku focused, he saw that the man on the ground was none other than the pro-hero Ingenium, which just so happened to be his best friend's older brother. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 was ready to stab him, but Izuku was fast enough to appear beside him and punch him hard enough so send him flying to the wall. "You're Izuku-ita's friend," managed to stutter Ingenium. "Yeah, I sensed an evil presence and came here as fast as possible. Sorry if I'm late," Izuku said. Ingenium seemed to want to speak, but he couldn't, just like he couldn't stand up. Izuku saw all the scars on his body and sighed. He raised the sleeve of his hero costume and stuck his hand next to Ingenium's mouth. "Bite me. It'll heal you and give you your stamina back," ordered Izuku. Ingenium did as told, as he was already tired to not be able to fight. He bit Izuku's hand, who this time used more chakra than when he healed Aizawa, and his scars seemingly faded immediately. He then stood up, followed by Izuku and 𝗧𝗵𝗲, as the villain glared at them both. "Another fake. No, you are nothing but a child. Get away from here so I could finish this fake off," spat out 𝗧𝗵𝗲. Izuku didn't bother to even look at him as he created 2 clones. One of the Izukus ran towards 𝗧𝗵𝗲 and attempted to punch him, but the latter dodged it and used his sword to try and slash it, only to end up failing when the Yuka dodged it. "Izuku, a lot of 𝗵𝗃 are all around the country. Where in the world are you?" asked Hawks in his earpiece. "I'm still looking for the source of that evil presence. Don't worry, I'm fine," said Izuku. He didn't want to tell Hawks about 𝗧𝗵𝗲 to not worry him, especially cause he knew that he could take him down by himself. "Okay, make sure to tell me if anything happens," said Hawks. Another Izuku created a chakra sword and tried to slash 𝗧𝗵𝗲 with it. The hero killer dodged it, but he wasn't fast enough as Izuku scarred his neck. The two Izukus kept fighting him and creating more clones to aid them. You are nothing but a fake just like all of the other heroes. None of you is worthy of being a hero except All Might, roared Stain. Yeah sure, thought Izuku to himself. The clones kept fighting him for a few minutes, but it was no lie that he was strong enough to keep up with all of them. I'm done playing with you, come here you fake, said Stain. Stain ran towards Ingenium to finish him as the latter was still frozen in fear of the villain. Izuku saw that and rushed towards him. He took Ingenium in his arms as he flew away and put him on a rooftop. Just as I expected, saving one person and then running away 'cause you're weak. What a fake, said Stain to himself. Watch who you're talking to, I of all people know who fake heroes are and how they behave, said Izuku. Stain looked around to find him, but he found no trace of the hero in training. He then was punched in the face again, a breaking sound appearing. You little brat are going to pay for this bone you've broken, said Stain. Izuku did nothing but summon two clones. The clones attacked Stain with each holding a Rasengan. He defeated both of them but couldn't find Izuku anywhere until he felt a pain in his neck. He turned around and saw that a sword had been stabbed into his neck. It's not deep enough to kill you nor severely injure you, you'll just pass away, said Izuku with tears. "Why?" stuttered the villain. I know what you're doing, a lot of the heroes that are saving the people around us are doing it just for the attention and money, not because they actually care about helping them. I can't kill you because that's not what a hero would do, especially because you can still do the right thing and stop this behavior, explained Izuku. You're a really smart and worthy hero. I'm sure you'd make a better pro than those fakes around this world, mumbled Stain. The villain was passing out when he used his sword to stab Izuku right in his waist. He then fell to the ground while Izuku fell to his knees, screaming in pain. Ingenium rushed to save the hero in training, but Izuku pushed him away and removed the sword from his body. He started healing slowly, but a Nomu appeared out of nowhere and held Ingenium in its claws. Izuku screamed in anger before jumping and stabbing the creature using Stain's sword. He then took Ingenium in his arms and put him slowly on the ground. Once he was completely healed, he took a rope, made out of the same material Izawa's scarf is made from, out of his costume and wrapped Stain in it. Please, Ingenium, give him to the police and don't mention anything about me, begged Izuku. Ingenium didn't want to agree, but he knew that the kid would be in so much trouble if the public, especially his school, knew. He took the villain to the police and Izuku went back to help Hawks with the Nomus. Third-person POV Izuku was flying as fast as possible to reach Hawks until he remembered that he could just teleport next to the hero. He was going to do it until he heard a man screaming a few meters away. He went to check it out and saw another Nomu with wings. He jumped on it and stabbed it with his sword. He then jumped next to the man and the civilians around him and questioned if they were okay, which they told him that they were. He smiled at them before flying again and continuing his patrolling instead of teleporting so that he'd stop any other Nomu or villain in his way. He found two criminals that took the state of fear that the country was in as an opportunity to steal a bank and stop them as fast as possible. Much to his luck, they both were weak, so he didn't have to waste any time. He then continued his plan and reached Hawks without having to fight any other villain nor Nomu. "Deku!" shouted Hawks, remembering that he couldn't just call the teen by his name during job while flying towards Izuku. "Heos!" shot back Izuku. "Why did you take so long to come here? Didn't you say that you were going to teleport? Also, what in the world was the very sinister person that you sensed even though my wings didn't yunk even a bit?" questioned Hawks. "I wanted to teleport here, but I was running low on stamina, so I couldn't do it from afar," answered Izuku, running low on stamina. Knocked Boruto. The others in his mind erupted into laughter while Izuku was holding back, wanting to murder them. The person I sensed ended up not being a person. It was a Nomu a lot bigger and stronger than the one that attacked the 𝗧𝗏. Don't worry about it though, 7 heroes showed up and took him down together and ordered me to go away to not get hurt, added Izuku. Great, then we, as in the heroes, have taken care of every Nomu in the entire country. It's time to go back to the agency for now, said Hawks. Izuku nodded and started flying back with 𝗧𝗂𝘁 following beside him. They entered the agency and 𝗧𝗂𝘁 sat down while Izuku stood next to him. "I'm going to order pizza, would you like some?" asked 𝗧𝗂𝘁. 𝗧𝗂𝘁, you've been eating fast food for the past 5 days I've been here. That's not good," said Izuku. "Yeah, I know, but I'm not a good cook, I don't know how to make food," answered 𝗧𝗂𝘁. "Oh, I can make you something," said Izuku. "You know how to cook? Oh, how lucky am I to train you, would you please make me a dish to defeat my hunger, young Izuku," said 𝗧𝗂𝘁 with a dramatic tone while taking Izuku's hand in his and kissing it. Izuku took back his hand and blushed a little before nodding and heading to the kitchen. Once he entered, he started cooking after turning on the TV. He was watching a random show that appeared in front of him until the channel stopped it to show urgent news. A few hours ago, a number of creatures which the pro-heroes are now referring to as Nomu appeared throughout the country, but luckily our pro-heroes were able to stop them. Now for the urgent news. A reporter has been hiding in Hosu City, and luckily this man has reported the hero in training Deku, also known as Izuku Yagi, fighting with the hero killer Stain and saving the pro-hero Ingenium from a possible death. Said hero in training then defeated 2 of those creatures, saving a group of civilians and stopped 2 thieves from robbing a bank. We'll be showing the video of the hero in training showing us how great of a hero he's going to be," said the reporter. Izuku started shaking after he heard what the reporter said. He took a cup of water before 𝗧𝗂𝘁 suddenly entered the kitchen. "Izuku-kun, what's the meaning behind this? You told me that it was only a Nomu. You could have died out there," screamed 𝗧𝗂𝘁. Izuku didn't know what to say. He heard his phone ring and he picked up the phone immediately without checking who it was. Much to his bad luck, it was Aizawa, who also shouted at him for his actions after watching some of the fight. The Erasure Pro hero ordered him in the school in that moment and hung up the phone before Izuku could say a word. "I'm sorry, 𝗧𝗂𝘁. I couldn't just tell you that I fought with the hero killer, 2 Nomus and 2 other criminals. I am completely fine, and I know very well that if I had told you, you wouldn't allow me to patrol by myself and wouldn't trust me," said Izuku with his head low. 𝗧𝗂𝘁 sighed before stepping in front of Izuku and giving him a hug. "Izuku, I've known you for less than a week, but I already consider you one of the closest people to me, and I don't want you to get hurt," said 𝗧𝗂𝘁. Izuku sighed as he hugged him back and apologized. He then let go and told him that he was wanted in UA immediately. 𝗧𝗂𝘁 didn't allow him to go on his own and decided to follow him, which Izuku couldn't reject. "Okay, touch my shoulder, I'll teleport us there. I have a mark in Mr. Nizu's office," ordered Izuku. 𝗧𝗂𝘁 did as told, and Izuku focused his chakra and suddenly appeared alongside 𝗧𝗂𝘁 in Nizu's office. 𝗧𝗂𝘁 ran towards the garbage can and threw up, which made Izuku giggle as he knew how weird it was to teleport for the first time. Aizawa and Nizu ended up giving Izuku a speech about how reckless it was to have kind of fight against such villains. 𝗧𝗂𝘁 then apologized for allowing Izuku to go on his own, and Izuku also gave his own apology for his careless actions. Third-person POV. So much drama/kinda cringe. For 3 days straight, Izuku wasn't allowed to patrol on his own. 𝗧𝗂𝘁 followed the teen in every step he took and supervised over every movement he did. It was in the 4th day when 𝗧𝗂𝘁 trusted him enough for him to let him look out for the city for a few hours on his own. That kept on for days until there were 2 days left before the internship ended. Izuku was sitting down while watching TV with 𝗧𝗂𝘁, but the hero noticed that his sidekick wasn't happy. Instead, he was frowning. "What's wrong, Izuku-kun?" asked the hero. "Nothing, I'm just sad that we have 2 days left until I have to leave and go back to you," answered Izuku. "You're going to miss me." Izuku rolled his eyes and nodded a little while trying so hard not to hold eyes with the hero. "Well, since we have only 2 days left, why don't we get to know each other better? It's not like you'll be going to outer space to study. I can still visit you at UA or somewhere," said 𝗧𝗂𝘁. Izuku, hearing that, grinned and nodded as he sat down beside 𝗧𝗂𝘁. The 2 boys sat down for hours talking about their life, where Izuku told 𝗧𝗂𝘁 about his background, not forgetting any information. He even told the hero about his parents' secret identities, and 𝗧𝗂𝘁 was obviously and visibly furious with what he heard, but he didn't say anything. Izuku also learnt that 𝗧𝗂𝘁 was raised in a household with an abusive villain of a father and a neglectful mother. His parents didn't allow him to leave the house so that he wouldn't rat them out, and that one day his father was beating him for running away to the city but was killed by a guy with strong blue fire quirk. Hawks didn't get to see the guy again. The two boys saw the similar lease they had in the case of neglect and abuse and thus decided to pinky promise each other to always be there when one needs the other. Both the young adults then left the building to patrol, but Izuku made sure to stay in the shadows as he had decided to hide from the public as much as possible after the whole Stain and Nomu incident. It took them only a few hours to check the entire city and its surroundings. After their patrol, the two went on a trip above the sea until it was midnight, where they danced in the air under the light of the moon. They then went back to the building where they both went to their respective rooms to rest. The second 2 days passed by the same, with them looking over the entire city while still having their personal fun and flexing their flying to each other. But not every phase of one's life remains forever, as it was the end of his internship under Hawks. He woke up and packed his stuff with visible sadness, but he didn't let it affect him as he knew that the hero was obviously still around and was still able to meet him whenever they weren't studying or working. He went to the main room and found Hawks waiting for him there, which made him slightly smile. This is weird. Thank you for being a great teacher and friend to me in the last 2 weeks, Hawk-san. Without you I couldn't have 𝗵 my flight, nor would I get to help all the people I helped. I'm really grateful for you and everything you've done to me, even if we didn't have a lot of time together. Thanked Izuku with a head bow. Hawks smiled as he took the boy in his arms in a crushing hug. Oh Izuku-kun, this is so emotional for me. You have nothing to thank me for. I'm really grateful that I got the chance to even say that I helped you train in any way. Don't forget to text or call me, if I don't do that first, that is, every day. Also, for God's sake, call me Kigo. You literally are one of the few people that know my name, said Hawks. Izuku smiled and nodded before walking out of the door. He was about to open the door until he sensed Gawk's presence change. He felt the hero's sadness taking over most of the room. He stopped in his tracks before turning back and hugging the hero once more, which the latter returned with tears in his eyes. I'm going to miss you, whispered the hero. Not as much as I will, said back Izuku. They stayed in the same position for about a minute before letting go, both with tears in their eyes. The both started giggling after seeing each other with tears streaming down their eyes. I feel more of a drama queen than Aoyama, said Izuku. The pro-hero bursted into laughter as he looked at his student, indirectly insulting his classmate. Promise to talk to me every now and then, asked Hawks while raising his pinky finger. Promise, conswered Izuku, locking their fingers together. Izuku then left the building and went to the train station where he'd meet with his classmates again and go back to his school. He was near the station when he heard that a notification reached him. He got out his phone and opened it only to find that it was a message from the hero. Fly safely, baby bird, was the message. Stupid bird, said Izuku to himself while smiling. Third-person POV. Izuku reached the train station and stopped flying as he started looking around for his classmates. He looked for them for about 10 minutes but couldn't find anyone. He even tried to call them, but none of them answered. He called Aizawa to question him as to why no one was there, even though it was 10 minutes past the hour they were supposed to be there. Hey Uncle Shoto, why is no one in the train station? They should have been here 10 minutes ago and none of them is answering their phones, asked Izuku. Izuku, we told you that you should come back to the school yourselves 2 weeks ago before you entered the train. Were you not listening? Answered Aizawa. The connection is bad. See you later, uncle, said Izuku before hanging up. I forgot about that, he whined to himself. Couldn't any of you remind me of that? He said to the people in his mindscape. It's your job to remember, not ours, answered Sasuke. Izuku sighed before focusing his chakra and teleporting to a mark that he had beside Class 1A. He was about to open the door and enter until he heard the name, Stain. He listened to what his class were saying, and not much to his shock they were talking about the hero killer and his fight with Izuku. He sighed before opening the door and entering. Immediately all eyes were on him. The class fell into chaos as they all ran towards him to question him about the hero killer and the nomus he fought. Izuku asked them to sit in their places and stay calm, then sat down and explained the entire situation. Bakugo and Izumi glared at him together, and then the blonde-haired started talking. Listen here, stupid Deku. Just because you fought some weakling and beat him doesn't mean that you're a good hero. You're still the same pathetic, useless Deku you were before. Spat Bakugo. Izuku looked towards his way and grinned. Whatever helps you sleep at night, Bakugo, he said. Izumi made a th sound while she and Bakugo felt their blood boiling. The class were waiting for their class to start until they heard All Might calling them to ground Gamma. The class got into their hero costumes and went to said ground where All Might was waiting for them. Welcome to our lessons. Today is hero basic training. We haven't seen you in a while. Today we'll be conducting a race where you should apply everything that you've learned from your internships with your heroes of choice, explained All Might with his usual high tone. The class awed in excitement, ready to show everyone how far they have come. You're about to step into 𝗕𝗏𝗄, which is an area full of factories that form a labyrinth. You'll be competing in groups of each person starts from a different location from the outskirts of the field. I'll send a distress signal and you'll try to rescue me. The first person to catch me wins, explained the pro. The entire class nodded in understanding, and All Might distributed the teams where Izuku was on the same group with Ojiro, Ida, Mina and Siro. They all took the respective positions and the class started betting who was the one that would win, with most of them choosing Ida and a few betting on Izuku. And now that everyone is ready, begin, said All Might said while giving the signal. The 4 students competing against Izuku immediately used their quirks to start the race and find the hero. Izuku smirked a little before floating in the air and using his chakra to enhance his speed. He rushed in the air, causing small shockwaves that pushed back Mina and Sito that were standing behind him. He sensed All Might's life force in seconds and flew there, catching him in less than a minute. The entire class had their jaws to the ground while their eyes were wide open. Since when can he fly? Was the question that they all were wondering. Indeed, we have a winner, said All Might while questioning the teen's flight internally. Izuku smiled a little while All Might told his classmates that he noticed a great improvement in them. The teen then went to his other classmates where everyone's eyes were on him. That was amazing, Deku-kun. Since when can you fly? Said Eureka. I just recently learned that it was an extension of my quirk while I was meditating, which is why I decided to choose Hawks' agency, answered Izuku. The entire class looked at him with understanding while his ex-best friend and sister were once again boiling with anger and jealousy. After the entire class had their turns, they went to the changing rooms where they all took off their hero costumes and got back into their uniforms. They were discussing the training they had when Mineta called Izuku. Hey Izuku, look, it's the jackpot. It's a hole between ours and the girls' locker room. The previous generation has blessed us, said Mineta. Ida was about to stop him from peeking into the room when Izuku punched him right into a wall, shattering it. Girls, I'll tell Mr. Nizu about the hole. I need to tell him about something else anyways, said Izuku. Everyone else felt the anger he was showing, so they didn't say anything and stayed silent. Izuku teleported to Nizu's office, and to his luck Midnight and Aizawa were also there. He smiled at them before looking at Nizu and talking. Mineta has been causing a lot of perverted actions. He tried to peek into the girls' locker room today, but I ended up stopping. I believe you'll deal with it, right? Said Izuku. Yeah, Izuku, don't worry about him, I'll deal with him, I already have a plan in mind, answered Nizu with a smile that made the rest shiver. Thank you, excuse me, now I'm going back to class, said Izuku. Nizu nodded before Izuku teleported back next to his classmates using one of the marks he placed on them. They all looked at him without questioning him. Izuku looked back at them and gave a grin, making the rest sweat drop. What in the world is this sudden SW? They thought to themselves. Third-person POV. The class were sat down in 1A when Aizawa informed them of the fact that their final exams of the first semester are coming in only a week. I'm sure that all of you are studying constantly while also training. The exam is made up of both the written part and the practical one, and you should be focusing on both equally. Good luck, said Aizawa while leaving the classroom and closing the door after him. Most of the class started talking about how they weren't ready for an exam as they didn't have much time to study. Izuku and Momo, who were ranked first and second respectively, didn't say anything. Same could be said about the rest of the students ranked in the top. Izuku, you're the smartest here, can you please help me with studying? Asked Kaminari. Yes, Su-, was saying Izuku before he was cut off. He was traveled into his mindscape. Izuku, you can't waste any time, we have to train you in something important, it could be really useful for you right now, said Sakura. Izuku had no idea what they were talking about, but he didn't argue and nodded his head before leaving his mindscape. The rest of the class then gathered around Jaminari and Izuku, also questioning Izuku if he could help them study. I'm sorry guys, but I don't have a lot of time this week. I'm training to perfect something important in my quirk, and not to mention I have to study. I have 2 free hours every day at most which I'll need to sleep, apologized Izuku. The whole class felt sad about that, but they didn't say anything as they didn't want to pressure the guy that has helped them since the beginning of the year. Can he help me only? I'm failing in most of the classes. Pretty please, begged Kaminari to the rest of his classmates. They all seemed to agree, which made the blonde-haired teen so glad he looked like his brain was fried. I can tutor you guys, I have nothing to do this week. I won't be any help in the practical though, jumped in Momo. The students started cheering for her while she and Izuku high-fived. Good job, Vice President, said Izuku. Oh please, it's my job, Mr. President, giggled Momo. Bakugo and Izumi took Kirishima with them though, to beat the lessons into his skull. Izuku and his group of close friends, which consisted of Todoroki, Yurika, Tsu, Ida and Momo, then went to the cafeteria and sat together where they started talking about what they think the exams will be. Izuku was telling them that they should also focus on keeping their physical shape too until he felt a life force behind him. He activated his Sharingan and saw a hand coming his way. He caught the hand and twisted it, then used it to strangle the person's neck. He looked at the guy and saw a hair of blonde color. Minona from Class 1B, it's not so polite to just try and push someone, spat out Izuku. He noticed that the other teen was in pain, so he let go of his hand and saw that it had a hint of purple to it, which made him wonder if he broke it. Oh whatever, I heard you fought against the hero killer Stain and defeated him. As usual, Class 1A brats trying to stay in the center of spotlight and attention, said the guy with a mocking tone. A girl appeared before Izuku could speak and punched the guy with a gigantic fist. Sorry about him, he's not the best representation of our classroom, she said. Minona rolled his eyes and Izuku nodded and looked at him. I fought Srain because Ingenium was about to get killed by him. What I did is what every hero would do, save a person in need. I didn't do anything to be in the spotlight because unlike you I'm not an attention seeker, and now if you'll excuse me, said Izuku while holding the guy's scarred hand. A green hue appeared between Izuku's hands. The teen's scar was slowly healing until it was completely gone, as if it never existed. I apologize for unintentionally hurting your classmate, he was being rude and annoying, said Izuku while bowing down in front of the girl. No, it's okay, I know he was most definitely the one in the wrong, so excuse us, answered the girl. Izuku smiled as he sat down while the girl and her classmate went back into their table. Izuku continued the conversation with his friends for a few minutes until he decided to question his family about what the very important training was. Well, we noticed that you focus a lot on sensing others' life forces, which definitely is useful, but something that is also useful could be if you can just see through objects to find who you're looking for as fast as possible, said Boruto. And as you know, you contain the chakra of many clans, one of them being the 𝗎𝗓𝗓, so we decided to train you in activating their dojutsu, the 𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗓, and to use it, added Sarada. We concluded that you won't unlock the 𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗓 since you contain the Otsutsuki chakra too, so you most definitely will immediately unlock the 𝗕𝗫𝗁, which won't be hard. What we're training you to do is to use the chakra mode that comes with the 𝗕𝗫𝗁, explained Sasuke. Izuku blinked in confusion for a little before finally taking everything in and nodding. And obviously we don't know much about the 𝗕𝗫𝗁, so we won't exactly be the ones to train you, said Sakura. Also new senseis? Asked Izuku, and the rest nodded. Naruto then flicked his fingers and 2 pale men appeared beside him. Izuku, meet Himura and Tonari Otsutsuki, the 2 Otsutsukis that we know of that awaken this dojutsu, said Naruto. Izuku bowed down and said, Hello Mr. Tonari and Mr. Himura, I'm Izuku Yagi, I hope I make a good student. The older Otsutsuki, Himura, and his descendant chuckled as they looked at the kid. The old god-like being then pat his head and smiled at him when he looked at him. You don't have to be so stiff, kid. It's not hard to imitate art, so just focus with us three. Explained Tonari. 3. You're 2. Where is the third? Asked Izuku. Oh, that would be me, said a woman with dark blue hair cut in a bob style reaching her shoulder. Hello, I am 𝗕𝗁𝗎𝗄𝗏, the Byakugan princess, the successor of Himura Otsutsuki, the human with the strongest Byakugan, followed by her daughter, the wife of Naruto Uzumaki, biological mother to Boruto and Himawari Uzumaki and foster mother to Kawaki Uzumaki. Izuku. Oh well, looks like I don't have to introduce myself, she said in a small shy tone that she's known for. Of course not, Naruto-san told me all about you from the day we met. Shot back Izuku. Hinata looked at Naruto and he had a smug, proud look on his face which made everyone roll their eyes. Third-person POV. Izuku trained with his 3 new teachers and just like Sasuke suspected, he didn't awaken the Byakugan and went straight to the Tenseigan. He learned how to use it pretty fast and mastered the usage of his Tenseigan chakra mode in a matter of days, which gave him enough time to teach Denki. The teens did the writing part and Izuku alongside the classmate he tutored passed easily, and Denki ended up thanking Izuku until Aizawa told them that it was time for the practical exam. Class 1A stood outside with many teachers and Aizawa said that without a doubt they had some knowledge on the exercise test, to which Mina and Denki exclaimed that it would be fighting against robots, an idea that they were given by an older class student. Suddenly, 𝗎𝗍 jumped out of Shota's scarf and revealed to the students that they would not be having a battle simulation against robots for their test exercise. 𝗎𝗍 explained that the recent surge of villains had caused the school to increase the quality of their training methods in order to increase the students' battle experience. 𝗎𝗍 said that from then on students would be having battle simulations similar to real-life battles. Class 1A were going to be the first students who got to have real-life battle simulations. 𝗎𝗍 revealed that Class 1A's test exercise would be forming pairs and facing one of S teachers in combat, shocking Class 1A. 𝗎𝗍 stated that Class 1A's pairs and the teachers they would fight have already been decided. Shoto and Momo would be paired together to face Shota in combat for their exercise test. Shota then said that Izumi and Katsuki will be paired together, much to their joy. After that, Izumi and Katsuki were surprised to learn that they will be facing All Might in combat for their exercise test. The first fight was between Kirishima and Sato against 𝗬𝗏𝗯𝗃. 𝗬𝗏𝗃 used his cement manipulation powers to create barriers, which Kirishima and Sato used their powers to smash. However, the time limits on their quirks run out before 𝗬𝗏𝗃 runs out of walls, deeming them failures. The second battle was Momo and Todoroki versus Aizawa. The pair got off to a bad start when Aizawa was able to capture Shoto, but once Shoto encouraged Momo, who's the better tactician of the two, but was suffering from self-esteem issues after her quick loss at the hands of Tokoyami during the sports festival, they managed to work out a strategy involving a catapult and a shape memory alloy copy of Eraserhead's scarf, which they tied him up with. And even though Momo did make a mistake, Aizawa allowed her the victory. The fight after was Denki and Mina versus Principal 𝗎𝗍, where the students tried to escape the area, while 𝗎𝗍 used his super intelligence and a wrecking ball to set up disaster dominoes so they couldn't. Even when he deliberately left them a way out, they couldn't find it, deeming them as the second losing team. The fight following it was Ojiro and Iida versus Power Loader. Power Loader's tunneling quirk made it hard for Iida to run to the exit without falling into a pit, and he was also too fast for Ojiro to make any headway. They got past that by combining their skills, where Iida threw Ojiro to the exit using his super speed, sacrificing himself to let his teammate get out. They won. After that were Tsu and Tokoyami versus Ectoplasm. Ectoplasm's Me's a crowd quirk allowed him to chase Tsuyu and Tokoyami across the arena, and eventually trap them with one really big clone. He was eventually surprised by some nice tactics from Tsuyu, who hid the HNDCFFS in her stomach, which is a part of her frog powers, and handed them to Dark Shadow to cuff Ectoplasm's leg, deeming them as winners. The following fight was between Toru Hagakure and Mizo Shoji versus Snipe, where Shoji distracted Snipe, allowing Toru an opening to cuff him, while completely invisible because she took off her hero outfit, and allowed them to win. During Ciro and Mineta's fight with Midnight, 𝗧𝗏 was knocked out by Midnight Quirk, which made Mineta jealous due to how close 𝗧𝗏 was to the heroine. Mineta was eventually also knocked out too, making both of them fail. After that came Uraraka, and Aoyama's fight against the pro hero was easily winning until Uraraka remembered what the hero that trained her and ended up defeating the hero by capturing her, making them win. The fight following was 𝗔𝗂𝗁 and 𝗂𝗲 vs Present Mic. 𝗔𝗂𝗁 was fairly useless except for defense because Present Mic outvolumed her. All the animals around were also scared off by all the shouting, so 𝗂𝗲 didn't have much to use. The only thing present were insects, and 𝗂𝗲 was scared of them. However, he overcame his fear when he saw that Present Mic had ruptured 𝗔𝗂𝗁's eardrums. And just like 𝗂𝗲 was scared of bugs, turned out Present Mic was too, which allowed them to overcome him and escape through the gate. The fight before the last was Izumi and bakugo against All Might. That began as exactly the kind of curb stomp battle one would expect when All Might is involved, even handicapped. Making it worse, Katsuki and Izuku couldn't work together. Katsuki had an inferiority-superiority complex and saw himself a lot better than working in a team, and the same could be said about the girl. They couldn't just escape, as Bakugo noted, because All Might was too fast. If they didn't fight All Might together, they're toast, and eventually they managed to agree with each other long enough to attack as a team and win the exam battle. It was only Izuku left behind. Third-person POV, all of the students and the pro heroes were standing in silence, which confused Izuku. He was about to question what was wrong when he saw three beings flying their way. The three people reached the ground and the students' eyes were widened. In front of them stood the number 2 hero 𝗕𝗏𝗏, the number 3 hero 𝗕𝗁𝗏, and the number 4 hero 𝗵𝗃𝗲. We apologize for coming late. A number of 𝗵𝗔 were once again let loose throughout the city and we had to deal with it. Said 𝗕𝗏𝗏. Are we too late? Is there any battle now? Asked 𝗵𝗃𝗲. Unfortunately for you, most of the battles are done. We have only one student left. Izuku Yagi. Answered Nizu. Izuku saw as Gawk's eyes glowed with happiness once he heard his name, which also made him smile. The three heroes looked at Izuku, who raised his hand and waved at them, trying to not seem weird in front of 𝗲𝗁𝗏. You still haven't told me who I'm fighting, nor who my teammate is going to be, said Naruto while looking at Aizawa. Izuku, from what we've seen since the beginning of the year, you're very strong, which is why you'll be fighting a hero of your choice on your own, exclaimed Aizawa. Everyone, except the heroes that were originally standing in the arena, looked at the erasure hero with widened eyes and open jaws. Izuku, on the other hand, smirked and held back a sigh as he looked around him until his eyes met with All Might's. What do you say, All Might? Ready for a second fight? Questioned the teen. Everyone gave an "Are you crazy?" expression, including the number 1 hero himself. Bro, did you fry your brain? Why would you choose to fight the number 1 hero? He's too strong. Asked Kirishima. I have many reasons, Kirikun. Answered Izuku. He then turned around and looked at All Might once again. What do you say, All Might? Come on, I'm waiting. Spoke Izuku. And you won't wait long, young Yagi. I accept to fight you. Shot back All Might. Izuku smiled before jumping down to the field, and All Might followed him. Mike then immediately started the fight while the two were standing in front of each other. All Might expected Izuku to stay on the defensive part just like Izumi and Bakugo, which is why he wasn't fast enough to notice Izuku teleporting next to him and kicking him with a chakra-infused kick. The number 1 hero was kicked all the way back to a building, shattering the wall he hit. Well, I didn't see that coming, he said to himself. He then stood up and shrugged it off. He started looking around but couldn't find his son anywhere. Izuku then appeared behind him and was about to kick him again, but the hero punched him, making him poof. Wait, what? He was confused for a second before getting another kick straight to the face. You have seen Izumi fall for this 2 times, yet you still fell for it, huh, number 1? Mocked Izuku. Back with the heroes in training and the pro heroes around them, the students were holding back their laughter after seeing how All Might was humiliated and insulted by their classmate. The pro heroes, on the other hand, were unsure whether they should be proud that a future hero was strong enough to do that with the symbol of peace or feel terrified by it. Izuku saw All Might standing, with anger now in his eyes, which made him smirk. All Might jumped in the air, causing a shockwave that destroyed the entire street in front of him. Izuku on the other hand teleported beside All Might, but the latter saw him and punched him away straight to a wall, shattering it completely. Izuku stood up and saw his body healing, so he didn't worry about it. He started flying and his father jumped after him to catch him. See, he's trying to run away. He knows that he can't stand a chance against All Might, unlike me of course, said Bakugo. No, did no one know what he's doing? Wondered Hawks. Everyone except Nizu, who was smirking with mischief in his eyes, looked at Hawks with confusion, which made the latter sigh. All Might has no form of flight, so he has a disadvantage in the air. Deku is using that as an opportunity, explained Hawks. And just like he said, Izuku created 3 clones and All Might was about to punch them away, but the 2 were faster than he thought. The Izukus each punched him with a chakra punch, causing him to fall to the ground, shattering most of the street. Izuku continued his attack when he jumped on top of All Might with a chakra-enhanced kick, causing the latter to spit out a good amount of BLD. All Might, getting mad about the teen playing around with him, took off his weighted bracelets, which all the heroes were wearing to help them hold back against the teens. He glared at Izuku and saw the other smirk. What's wrong, All Might? Getting mad? I still haven't showed you the mode I was saving up to show you. How about we continue this little fight? Said Izuku. Everyone was confused as to what Izuku meant, but the latter only chuckled before opening his eyes. His eyes weren't their usual green clout, instead they were baby blue with a white flower surrounding a slightly darker blue pupil. It looks like this. All Might stepped back, unaware what happened to his son's eyes, but Izuku only smiled at him. Chakra was then distributed to his entire body and hero costume. His costume gained a cyan-colored chakra shroud in place of the previously black parts, while the Magatama and Sun/Moon previously white parts were turned black. Dark markings surrounded his eyebrows and lower eyelids, and a single chakra horn extended from his forehead. The shroud was radiating flickering flames of chakra. Everyone looked at him with all shock, interest, and fear. Come at me, All Might. Third-person POV. All Might was stuck in his place for a few moments before he snapped out of his trance and rushed towards Izuku to punch him. Okay, my offense is enhanced in this mode, but my defense isn't the best. I should try to dodge all of his attacks, thought Izuku to himself. All Might's punch was less than an inch away from Izuku's face when the latter teleported to a kunai, which he threw away the moment he saw All Might moving. All Might glared at him and went to punch him again, causing another shockwave which destroyed the houses behind Izuku. Izuku jumped in the air and kicked All Might. The latter used his hands to block it, but he was still pushed back and hurt a little. We should stop this training right now. They're just fighting at this point. Deku isn't following what he should be doing in the first place, said Magneto. Niza didn't even glance her way. Instead, he focused more on the fight between the father and son. All Might was getting fed up. He ran towards Izuku with a 100% of one for all and tried to punch him. Izuku wasn't fast enough to do anything, so he instead also focused his chakra in his fist and punched him back. The strength of the 2 punches caused a shockwave which completely erased all of the building in the radius of about 20 meters. All Might and Izuku were each pushing each other back and forth with their punch, but Izuku used more of his stored chakra and pushed back All Might, causing him to pass through 7 buildings that shattered and fell down in pieces. Izuku then teleported next to him using flying Raijin and smirked. He raised his hand and a Rasengan appeared in his hand. He didn't use it though, instead he channeled more chakra to it, giving it a darker color. He then smashed it right at All Might, which shattered the ground around him and caused him more pain than when Izuku kicked him from the sky. Izuku then threw a number of smoke bombs, blocking the sight of everyone else seeing them. All the other could see were the shockwaves and colors of the 2's techniques and powers. Inside the smoke, Izuku and All Might were throwing punches at each other, while All Might was getting more and more frustrated as his son was dodging all his attacks while still attacking him. All Might caught Izuku off guard after accidentally attacking his blind spot, but once Izuku sensed him, All Might noticed that he had punched a black shield instead of the hero. Oh, I didn't want to use any truth-seeking orbs yet. It's too cool to use on him, whined Izuku to the people in his mind. They didn't even answer him as they were too busy being intrigued by the fight. Izuku then used the same shield and turned it to a flying dark ball. This is one of my favorite abilities. Tell me what you think about it, Dad, asked Izuku with a smirk. All Might froze when he heard the last word that Izuku said. Dad? When did he find out about my identity? He questioned himself. I can read your mind with my Byakugan, Dad, and my eyes are a more enhanced version of the Byakugan, so I can still read it. Stop questioning yourself, said Izuku. All Might didn't understand any word that his son uttered. He was still frozen in his place, which Izuku took as an opportunity to pit him down. Using his Tenseigan chakra mode, Izuku summoned a number of truth-seeking orbs and used them to bind All Might to a wall. He used 2 on each arm, 2 on each leg, 1 on his neck and 4 surrounding his torso. All Might tried to break free from the truth-seeking orbs but couldn't do it as Izuku kept hardening them. Everyone watching saw a leg leaving the smoke screen and they all wondered who was the one stepping out. Oh, All Might already defeated him. Good thing that Deku definitely learnt a lesson now, said Izumi. She alongside everyone else stared at the screen as they watched Izuku stepping out of the smoke and heading to the exit, rendering him the winner. Everyone watching rushed towards the exit where they saw Izuku getting out of his chakra mode and getting his original hero costume back in an instant. Where is All Might? What happened to him? Questioned Magneto. Why don't you check for yourself? Said Izuku as blew a huge wind wave from his mouth which blew away the smoke surrounding All Might. The heroes and students went to check him and what they saw made them all froze. All Might right in front of them stuck to a wall trying to free himself but for no use. Izuku raised his hand and clutched his fist, causing the ball to tighten, making the heroes slightly scream. Oops, wrong move, he said with a smile. He then opened his hand and the ball went back to their original shape before completely disappearing. Everyone looked at the teen with fear after seeing what he had done to the symbol of peace himself. Bakugo rushed at him with fury, anger, and visible jealousy. When will you stop acting so strong, Deku? Shouted Bakugo as he tried to blast him. Izuku dodged the blast and chopped Bakugo's neck, knocking him out. He then looked at All Might, who was still looking at him with confusion and fear. Well, Izuku is the winner in this fight, said Mike, trying to ease in the atmosphere. Everyone looked at him and he gulped before shutting up. Good job, Deku-kun, that was amazing, said 𝗬𝗓𝗏. Thanks, I've been training for this mode since last week, said Izuku. Only since last week? Questioned 𝗕𝗏𝗧𝗏, which Izuku nodded to. This is so bad. At this point Shoto would never become the #1 with this thing's power, said 𝗕𝗏𝗧𝗏 to himself. I can read minds while my Tenseigan or Byakugan is activated and I still have it activated, 𝗕𝗏𝗧𝗏, said Izuku. 𝗕𝗏𝗧𝗏 was taken back but that while the rest looked at the two with confusion. So, who wants to go to the mall? Asked Izuku with a grin. Third-person POV. The day after the final exams, Class 1A were sat down in silence awaiting their teacher. The teacher didn't seem to show up, so Izuku, as the class representative, decided to go check up on him in the staff room. He knocked on the door and entered. He immediately found Aizawa discussing the forest training camp. Hey Izuku, what are you doing here? Questioned Aizawa. Hello Mr. Aizawa, Mr. Vladking sir. I came here to check if I could find you since class started 15 minutes ago but you didn't show up, answered Izuku. Vlad smiled back at the kid and Aizawa nodded while sighing. We were just discussing the quirks of the students of Class 1A and 1B, except we still have no specific answer as to what your personal power is. Here, take a look if you'd like, said Vlad. Izuku took the paper from the pro hero's hand and scanned through it, finding some pretty interesting powers in the class beside theirs. He then gave back the paper to Vlad, but both of the heroes noticed something wrong with him. My quirk has been a secret to almost everyone. If I explain it for you, may I ask for something in return? Asked Izuku. The two pros looked at each other for a few seconds before turning back to look at Izuku and nodding in sync. Izuku, what in the world are you thinking? You can't just tell them about chakra, said Naruto in his head. As you know, I have a lot of abilities. My quirk was considered as useless when I was younger since the doctor that checked me didn't know how it functioned, but I was later able to learn how it functions. So I simply can use my own life force to do all kinds of things which you guys have seen some of, explained Izuku. He didn't say the complete truth, but he also didn't completely lie. Oh, that's an interesting quirk. It makes sense now as to why you passed out after healing Aizawa's injuries after the Uchiha attack, said Vlad, and Izuku nodded. Now what was the favor you want in return? Questioned Aizawa. Oh yeah, I was wondering that maybe you can do a student exchange. There is a certain guy that I feel like he deserves to be in the hero course more than someone in it," said Izuku. "I'm guessing the person that doesn't deserve it is my 𝗕𝗏," asked Aizawa, and Izuku nodded. "There is this student called Hitoshi Shinso. If I can train him, he could become stronger. Shinso-kun would make a great hero," implied Izuku. "We'll think about it. Principal Nizu has the final say in it. Now let's head to class," ordered Aizawa. Izuku nodded as he excused himself and teleported himself and Aizawa to the class. The next day, the 1A and B were standing in the parking lot where Aizawa was telling them that the training camp was an opportunity for them to go past their limits. "I heard some of Class 1A are taking extra courses. Does that mean they failed? That would be so embarrassing, especially since you're supposed to be better than us. You must be full of shame," appeared the voice of Minoma out of nowhere. He was immediately dealt with when Itsuka Kendo knocked him out. "Thank you, Kendo," said Izuku with a smile. The girls smiled back at him before Izuku asked his class to enter the bus and remain calm. They definitely followed the first part of what he said. An hour later, Class 1's bus stopped for a restroom break. However, Class 1A noted that Class 1B wasn't at the rest stop. Suddenly, two females wearing cat-like costumes and a small boy appeared. The females excitedly introduced themselves as the professional hero team, the Pussycats. The brown-haired female explained to Class 1A that they would be staying at the base of a mountain which is a part of their domain, and that they had 3 hours to reach the base of the mountain using their quirks as they please, and those who don't arrive there by 12:30 p.m. wouldn't be served lunch. "Oh, if so, then the training camp has already begun. See you guys there," said Izuku as he started flying away. His entire class were about to follow him when the blonde-haired woman touched the ground and created a landslide of dirt that caused Class 1A to fall into a forest called the Beast's Forest, which they had to pass through to reach their destination. Izuku was simply flying around as fast as possible until he saw a huge beast which seemed to be made out of dirt. "Remember, Izuku, the strongest nature against earth is lightning," said Boruto in his brain. "I don't have any strong lightning jutsu. I'll just Rasengan any beast in my way," he answered. He then did as he said and used a Rasengan to destroy the beast, which was seen by Aizawa and the 2 Pussycats members. The black-haired female noted that the training camp she had organized was well thought out. Shota attributed it to the fact that the increased number of villains had forced the first years to take the accelerated year course, usually reserved for second years, so that they have the skills and knowledge to fend for themselves. Shota let the Pussycats handle the beginning portion of Class 1's training camp and left. The Pussycats decided to head back to the mountain base. However, the small boy seemed unenthusiastic. Izuku reached his destination and sat down. After him arrived the 3 heroes and the young kid. "As usual, the first in everything," said Aizawa. Izuku giggled before marking the bench he was sitting on, in case of need, and standing up. The rest of the class arrived a few hours later, where they saw Izuku talking with Aizawa. "So not fair," thought most of them. Izuku then looked towards the little kid and smiled at him, but the latter glared back. "Who are you, little guy?" asked Izuku while touching the kid's cap. The kid seemed mad about it as he tried to punch Izuku, but the older teen blocked his hand. The kid then walked away while still glaring at the entire class. On his way to wherever he was heading, he said that the last thing he wanted was to hang with some wannabe heroes, which angered most of the class and confused Izuku. "That's Koda, my cousin's kid, but he lives with us now," explained Mandalay. "Interesting kid.